If you ever felt like you aren't good enough or worthy enough to put yourself up in society, then you're suffering from something that I call imposter syndrome. You want to keep watching this video because I have a thing or two to share with you. Before we go on with the video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, now would be a very good time for you to hit the subscribe button and join this family, especially if leveling up is something that's of importance to you. We share videos on leveling up in every area of your life. So click the subscribe button and the bell just right beside it so you can get instantly notified whenever we upload a new video. So today we're talking about imposter syndrome. I've had a lot of people reach out to me to tell me, to ask me how they can deal with this thing called imposter syndrome, especially because they do not feel like they're good enough or worthy enough or valuable enough to offer any form of help to society or be of any form of value to society. I thought it best to film this episode so that I can share a word or two to anyone who may be suffering from imposter syndrome. But first, let's define what imposter syndrome really means. According to betterup.com, imposter syndrome is the condition of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite being high-performing in external and objective ways. This condition often results in people feeling like a fraud or a phony and doubting their abilities. In my own words, I put down here that you suffer from imposter syndrome when you are focused solely on your insecurities, your inadequacies, and imperfections, regardless of your skills, your achievements, and your success. Someone with imposter syndrome is just overly focused about the negative things or the bad things that can happen in a particular situation or a particular circumstance instead of focusing on the beautiful things about their lives. Now, someone with imposter syndrome will beat themselves up at any chance that they get at the slightest imperfections that may not necessarily mean anything in the grand scheme of things. So for example, someone with imposter syndrome if it's a content creator and they make a video, they literally criticize the video in every form, fashion, shape possible to the point where they aren't even interested in putting out that video anymore. But when a second party watches the video and they're just wondering, what is this thing that this person is talking about? They can't even see the imperfections that this person with imposter syndrome is talking about. So the person with imposter syndrome just sees all that imperfections and thinks that content that they have produced is not worthy or valuable enough for society to consume. So all the effort that they have spent in creating that content is gone to waste just because of all the imperfections that they see. That doesn't even necessarily mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Someone with imposter syndrome also worries too much about what other people think about them and how other people perceive them. So they're all so conscious about, oh, what is this person thinking about me? How does this person see me? How does this person look at me? They're super worried. And if you have lived in society, you should come to realize that the one thing that you cannot control is what other people think about you. Because if you think from now till tomorrow, you cannot change a person's perspective of you. So why are you overly worrying about what another person thinks about you? Another feature of someone with an imposter syndrome is that their insecurities are always very loud. Their insecurities are always very obvious to the naked eyes. You can literally feel that they're very insecure about themselves, about the things that they do. And most often than not, the people with imposter syndrome are people who are actually high achievers, who have attained a high level in society and they have something valuable to offer. But they just don't see it in themselves and they just don't believe or think that what they have achieved is ever good enough at the level that they are at. Now, someone with imposter syndrome often doubt themselves about everything. They doubt themselves about everything, especially the good things. And even when someone is paying them a genuine compliment, like they genuinely are complimenting these people, they don't take it because they're like, they don't receive it very well. Because they still doubt that genuine compliment that someone is paying them is not actually real, because deep down within them, they feel like they are not good enough. I also put down here that people with imposter syndrome often believe that everyone else is better than them. And they always do things based on the standard that other people have set just to meet up with that standard and expectation. Before we go on with the video, a kind reminder that the Art of Speaking course is still available for anyone who is interested in leveling up their communication and just being a more effective speaker someone who wants to be able to articulate their thoughts, their ideas, and their feelings effectively and just win in their corporate lives, in their personal lives, in their professional lives, in their social lives, that course is definitely for you. So click the link in the description box down below to get access to the course and of course more information about the course as well, okay? A person with imposter syndrome will spend long hours prepping and planning for a project. Then they would even proceed to execute the project, spend long hours executing it, only for them to finish the project and get to the finish line. And then they look at what they've done and immediately they start to think, this is not good enough. This isn't good enough. There's something wrong with this thing I've done. There's something wrong. It's just like the content creators example that I set at the beginning of this video, where someone would have taken the time, done all the work, created the content, everything looks really good in the eyes of someone else. But then for the person with the imposter syndrome, they look at it and they're like, no, there's something wrong with my hair. There's something wrong with the makeup. There's something wrong with the text. Oh, the camera wasn't positioned well. Like, they find all the reasons why that thing is wrong. And it's not necessarily because they believe that what they have done is wrong, or they believe that the content that they have shot is not valuable or good enough. They just don't believe in themselves. They don't believe themselves or see themselves worthy enough to actually put out valuable content. They're like, so what do I have to share with this world? Do I have value to offer? Do I really have value? Who would listen to me? So because of that, all that goes on in their heads, because of that, they now start to nitpick at everything that is wrong and give themselves a million reasons why they mustn't share their valuable content or valuable whatever with the rest of the world. And someone with imposter syndrome always also feels very burned out. Like, this thing they call burnout. They feel it in the maximum capacity because of their need to always ensure that everything is perfect. So what will probably take a person an hour to do will probably take a person with imposter syndrome over 10 hours to do it. Because they're always like, no, is it this way? They're always very and they're very irritating. They can be I've actually been in the presence of someone with imposter syndrome. Like, the person just wanted everything perfect. Oh no, is it aligned? Is it this way? Is it that way? I used to be that way, like when it comes to being perfect, like everything being perfect. I used to be that way a long time ago. But I quickly realized that it was stressing me out, stressing the people around me out. It was just very stressful. Now, there's a difference between wanting to be perfect and doing things excellently. There's a big difference between that. And I think wanting to be perfect is very unattainable, because really, can you, in your eyes it may be perfect, but in everybody's eyes, is it really perfect? If you've ever felt this way, or if you ever think that if you've ever felt the feeling of being unworthy or that you're not valuable enough, I have some words to share with you today. I have some truths to actually share with you today. And hopefully these truths would actually inspire you to break yourself free from the shackles of imposter syndrome. The very first one that I've put down here is that you need to let go of the need to be perfect or have your work look perfect all the time. Most often than not, people aren't really concerned. People aren't so concerned about what you are overly worrying about. I know it's easier said than done. You always have to remember or remind yourself that perfection is not attainable. There's really no such thing as perfection. Perfection is relative. So what you even consider perfect in your eyes may be imperfect in another person's eyes. So why are you overly worrying about this? And for the people who have personally experienced that have imposter syndrome, when they have gone ahead to do the work that they do and they share it with us and they overly criticize the work and show all the imperfections, the things that they constantly point at as the things that are imperfections, I look at it and I'm like, are you serious? I didn't even see it. You are the one who pointed it out to me. I will never have noticed. That's always my response to them. So stop overly worrying about being perfect. Just focus more about putting your best foot forward at whatever it is that you're doing and ensure that it's the best you can do at the level where you are at. That leads me to my next point. Your best is good enough at the level where you currently are. So identify what your best is and ensure you're putting in maximum effort to just do your best. Your best is good enough, and your best doesn't necessarily have to be overly prim and proper perfect. Just do your best, and the people who want what you have to offer would accept you at your best, regardless of whatever your best is. Okay? The next thing I would say to you is that when you feel the need to criticize your work, be very constructive about your criticism about yourself and set realistic standards and expectations for yourself. Yes, I know you want to nitpick at everything, but remember that the root cause of the nitpicking is not necessarily because you find your work troublesome or problemsome. It's that you don't think that you're worthy enough to put out that solution or that value you want to offer the next person. So because of that, you just project on the work itself and now start to nitpick on it and find all the reasons why that thing is not good enough for you to put it out there. But I promise you that it's very important that I criticize my work sometimes, but doesn't mean that after putting in all that effort to maybe film a particular video, then I'm not going to put it out there. There's sometimes we're done shooting content, I will realize that maybe a cable was coming out, the mic was coming out, or my hair was like this, and then the people behind the camera didn't even let me know. Me, I didn't know, I was still talking. There's a video or two that we've posted, like my hair was out of place. And when I said, I'm like, oh, well, we all make mistakes. I'm still going to put out the video because what's most important is the valuable content that I'm sharing. Not because my hair is like this. But someone with imposter syndrome will sit down and be like, no, I'm not going to put that out. No, don't be that person. Just let the most important thing is the value of the content that you're putting out. So whether or not they're telling me to relax, to make my hair straight. So the most important thing is the value of the content that you're putting out, not that there's mistake everywhere. So for example, this is a set that we have that we've created for this show, Like normally these two puffs are usually standing upright, but maybe by mistake, this one came down like this and we didn't even notice until we're done shooting the video. Does that mean that we should now scrap the whole video just because something seemed to be imperfect that nobody might even notice at the end of the day? And even if they notice, so do you get where I'm coming from? So what? So all these things are not necessary. The most important thing is, do you have something valuable? You need to believe that you have something valuable to offer and put it out there and offer it because it's actually very valuable. That leads me to my next point. Understand that not getting things right or making mistakes is a part of the process. So see mistakes as an opportunity to learn and grow and be better. Not getting it right, like sometimes like this one is maybe not an intentional mistake. Something happens and then maybe there's really something you didn't really get right about a particular task or something you were asked to do. Instead of just beating yourself up and saying, oh my God, I didn't do that, next time I'm never going to get involved, I'm never going to try. No, just look at that mistake and, oh, this is something I know not to do next time, or I know not to do this way next time. And don't beat yourself up about it, just correct yourself. I always say that making mistakes is not the problem. What the problem is when what you do with the mistake that you have made. If you continue in the mistake and you continue making it over and over again, knowing that it's a mistake, then you are being negative about it. But when you see a mistake and you're like, oh no, I'm going to correct this and be better about the mistake, I won't repeat this mistake again a second time, then you have actually put out a positive attitude towards the mistake. So understand that not getting things right or making mistakes is a big part of life, and it's okay to make mistakes. Just don't wallow in the mistakes for too long, okay? Always remember that someone somewhere in the world needs the value you have to offer. So never hold back yourself from sharing it. You never can tell who is in need of this one thing you would say. It may not even be what you say, maybe in how you did it or what you did. Remember that we are all at different levels in our knowledge journey. Knowledge is progressive. So even the ones that you think have all the information and have all the knowledge about life are still learning. They still don't have enough knowledge. God designed it that way that not everybody would have the knowledge at the same time. So even the knowledge that you have for today may not be sufficient for where you're going to tomorrow. So you need to keep learning and keep growing. So that knowledge that you have today that you need to share with someone is what may even help somebody get from their own here to that point where you are. But imagine you've held that knowledge back, you've held that thing back. How would they come from here to here? And I also find that when you share knowledge, you also are, like I always say, you reap what you sow. When you share value, when you share knowledge, when you share information, when you share a gift of yourself to the world, you are also actually impacting in your own life as well. Because as you're sharing to others, life is also giving you more. giving you more. So always remember that someone somewhere definitely needs the value that you have to offer, and it's necessary for them to progress on their own life's journey as well. So stop holding back. And when you have gone ahead to put in the work to put out this information or put out this work. For example, imagine the guy who built the aeroplane, who designed the aeroplane and created it. Imagine that he didn't put it out because he was suffering from imposter syndrome. He's like, nobody's ever going to like this thing. This thing doesn't even make sense, because how can I design something, iron, and make it into a container and people are stuffed in there in the air? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I beg, I'm not putting it out there. Imagine if that was how he thought. How are we going to be flying to Asia? How are we going to go to Europe from Africa? How are you going to go to America and Canada that you're jackbuying to? Would you do that? So definitely always remember that your knowledge or your whatever you have may not be to build an airplane. It may just be to maybe help that person in your community, or help that neighbor smile again. Don't hold yourself back. It's good enough. I promise you, it's good enough, okay? The next truth that I have to share with anyone who is dealing with imposter syndrome is, don't be afraid to ask for help or reach out to people who are already excelling in your field of passion and ask them for pointers on how you too can excel as well. So people with imposter syndrome usually always just coil back in their own shell. They don't like to talk. They don't like to mingle. Because they feel like, what do I have to say? This thing, what do I have to say? That there's nothing special about what I want to say now, or there's nothing special about what I want to do. So they don't bother asking. They don't bother just making that effort. They just stay within their comfort zone and all. But when you deep down know that you're supposed to be doing something, and this imposter thingy is trying to hold you back or hold you down, be bold enough and courageous enough to just break free and just go ask someone for pointers and tips on how you can do it. And when the person gives you pointers and tips, ensure that you take it into action and do it immediately, so that you can just be on your way free from that imposter syndrome. The final point I put down here is, stop trying to do it all by yourself. And it's okay to be vulnerable with any incompetence that you may be feeling. So stop trying to do it all by yourself. Stop trying to figure life out all by yourself. It's connected to the last point. Reach out. Reach out. By talking to other people, you will start to understand that even the people who you think have their life together don't necessarily have it all figured out. They're just going with the flow. They're taking it one step at a time, one day at a time. You find that person who does the most work is just a normal person, and all they are doing is they're just being. Sometimes, let me tell you something. Have you ever wondered why foolish people are very bold? Because they are confident in their foolishness. They are confident in their stupidity. Yeah. So you that's very smart, intelligent, you are timid and shy. But somebody that's foolish, you're like, this guy is very foolish. You are saying the person is very foolish, but you are there. The person is bold enough to express their foolishness. You that you have your wisdom, you're just keeping it to yourself. You are not bold to talk about your own wisdom. That's why the guy who is foolish is louder. That's why the guy who is foolish is the one who has all the opportunities. That's why the guy who is foolish is the one who has the advantage. Because guess what? He's loud, he's bold. He can talk about his foolishness anytime. So you are the one who has the wisdom. How about you learn how to be bold as well, so that you can share your wisdom with the rest of the world as well. So please stop trying to figure life all by yourself. Talk. Open your mouth, express yourself. And the last point I put here is, it's okay to be vulnerable with your incompetencies. If you have an incompetence, like you feel like, okay, maybe someone in your field is doing something better than you normally would do it, instead of just wallowing and just be envious and angry and bitter about it, just say, oh, I wish I could do this way. Or how do I learn to do this way? Then reach out to the person and ask, how are you able to do this way? Drop pride, drop ego to the side and reach out, ask for help. Stop being shy, stop being timid, stop being intimidated. Reach out and ask them for help on how you can do the thing that you want to really do. And then I promise you, people are willing to share. People are more willing to share, even more than you are interested to ask or help. People literally want to help. and people love to help. So give people the chance to help you by reaching out to them, and then of course be very vulnerable with your incompetencies or your inadequacies. That's pretty much everything that I have for you. If you are watching today and you have a word for someone who is actually suffering from imposter syndrome, please kindly leave a comment for the person in the comment section down below on how they can break free from these shackles of imposter syndrome, because I believe that no one should actually have to deal with it. Everyone has a right. Everyone has a right to the knowledge that they have and how they share and express it with the rest of the world. We all have gifts. We all have been blessed with gifts. And the reason why we are coexisting on the earth is so that we can all put our gifts to good use for the betterment of our overall well-being as not just a nation or a society, as people, humans in the world. So your gift is needed for Asia to be better. Your gift is needed for America to be better. Your gift is needed for Africa to be better. Start showcasing that gift. Trust me, it is not fraud for you to showcase that thing that is yelling inside of you, to give it expression through your vessel, which is your being. Start giving it expression. Stop letting anything hold you back. Stop letting anything tell you that you're not good enough, because you, my darling, are good enough. Okay, that's all I have for you for today's video. Let me know, like I said, let's continue the conversation in the comment section down below if you have a word or two for anyone who is dealing with imposter syndrome. I'll see you again next time with another video. Until then, remember to stay very elegant. Take care.